In less than 24 hours, a machine picked over 1,000 targets inside Iran. Not a general. Not a room full of CIA analysts hunched over maps at 3 in the morning. A machine. And one of those targets turned out to be a primary school. 110 children. Dead. The question the Pentagon doesn't want trending on your timeline isn't whether AI is running this war. We already know it is. The question is, who is responsible when it gets it wrong? Let me take you back to the first day of what the U.S. military called Operation Epic Fury, the joint American and Israeli campaign against Iran. In the opening 24 hours, American forces struck more than 1,000 targets across Iranian territory. For comparison, in entire months of the Iraq War, the coalition didn't always hit that number in a single phase of operations. This was different. This was AI-enabled warfare operating at a tempo no human force could sustain manually. The system running those targeting decisions operates at a pace of 42 suggested targets per hour. Think about what that number actually means in human terms. You're a military officer. You have 30 seconds, maybe less, to review each recommendation before the next one hits your screen. You have satellite imagery, signals intelligence, human source reporting, and a confidence score generated by an algorithm all compressed into a single decision point. And somewhere in that stack of information, presented to you as a clean, processed recommendation, is a school that used to be adjacent to an Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps barracks 9 years ago. Here's what the AI saw: historical satellite imagery showing a military compound. What the AI apparently didn't weight heavily enough, or didn't know, was that the school had been physically separated from that complex for nearly a decade. Different walls, a small playground, colorful murals painted on the outside by teachers and kids. By the time a human being sat down to review that targeting card, the picture was already framed as a military installation. The decision that followed was catastrophic. American Tomahawk cruise missiles hit the Shaheri Tebe Primary School in Minab, Iran. 110 children died. Now, nobody in Washington will say on the record that AI caused this. The Pentagon confirmed an investigation was ongoing. President Trump stood up and suggested, without presenting a single shred of evidence, that Iran itself, or quote, somebody else, might have carried out the strike. Analysis of the debris and trajectory data from researchers on the ground strongly suggested American weapons. But the official story remains officially unresolved. That is itself a statement about where accountability lives in AI-enabled warfare. Apparently, it lives nowhere. The system at the center of this is called Project Maven. It has been in development since 2018, built in partnership with a CIA-backed data analytics company called Palantir Technologies. Maven is not a single piece of software. It's an entire ecosystem of machine learning tools embedded across every U.S. combatant command on the planet. Everyone. And at some point in the last several years, Anthropic's Claude AI. Yes, the same conversational AI that people use to write cover letters and summarize Netflix shows, was embedded into the Maven smart system to assist with intelligence analysis during active operations. Anthropic has been clear that Claude is not used for targeting. Claude is used for intelligence analysis. It synthesizes open-source data, government reporting, social media signals, and communications intercepts to build the intelligence picture that humans then use to make targeting decisions. And right there is the distinction that sounds clean in a press release and falls apart entirely in the fog of war. If the AI builds the picture and humans approve at 42 recommendations per hour, you haven't kept humans in the loop. You've given humans the illusion of control while the machine drives. Noah Sylvia, a research analyst at the Royal United Services Institute, described this as precisely the issue. He said the scale of operations in Iran, geographically, temporally, and sheer target volume, is, in his words, far more dramatic than anything seen in Ukraine. Eastern Ukraine is a relatively contained conflict zone. Iran is a country 4 times the size of California. The data infrastructure, the satellite coverage, the intelligence fusion required to maintain 42 targeting recommendations per hour across that geography is unprecedented. And as Sylvia noted, the people operating these systems need to actually understand them. The rapid deployment of technology into a live wartime environment with personnel who may not fully grasp the limitations of the models they're approving is, to put it politely, a recipe for catastrophic errors. Professor Elke Schwartz at Queen Mary University of London gave this phenomenon a name: automation bias. When a machine generates a recommendation with a high confidence score, the human brain tends to defer to it. Not because humans are lazy, because the volume of decisions is so high and the time window is so compressed that independent critical evaluation of each recommendation becomes neurologically impossible. And alongside automation bias is what she called action bias, the urgency that machine speed decision-making creates in human operators. Machines don't pause to deliberate. They output. And that output creates a pressure to respond immediately that bypasses the ethical reflection that serious use of force decisions require. Meanwhile, on the other side of this conflict, Israel has been deploying AI-coordinated drone swarms directly over Iranian territory. Not one drone. Swarms. Multiple autonomous or semi-autonomous units acting in coordinated fashion, sharing targeting data in real time, guided by centralized AI systems. The specific targets have included IRGC security personnel involved in internal repression. Iran fired back with its own arsenal, precision attack drones and electronic warfare systems targeting American military installations and early warning radar networks across the broader region. Multiple U.S. bases reported strikes. The battlefield isn't a front line anymore. It's everywhere and nowhere simultaneously, a distributed, multi-domain conflict zone where the speed of engagement is determined not by how fast soldiers can move, but by how fast algorithms can iterate. And here's what makes this genuinely different from every previous war in human history. In World War II, a bad intelligence assessment might take days to translate into a failed operation. In Vietnam, weeks. Even in Iraq, the cycle from bad intelligence to bad outcome involved enough human layers that accountability, however imperfect, could theoretically be traced. In this conflict, the cycle from bad data to dead civilians ran in what appears to be minutes. No one has been charged. No one has been named. The investigation is ongoing, and the war continues at 42 targets per hour. What researchers and ethicists have been warning about for years is now a documented reality on the ground in Iran. Dr. Craig Jones, a senior lecturer in political geography at Newcastle University, put it this way: the key question is the extent to which AI was involved in constructing the intelligence picture that led a human being to approve a strike on a school. He said whatever the ultimate finding turns out to be, human error, AI error, outdated data, a gap in the model, it was, in his words, a catastrophic intelligence failure, whether AI-driven or human-driven with some AI component. That framing matters, because it acknowledges that in modern AI-enabled warfare, the distinction between human decision and machine decision has become more philosophical than operational. The United States, it should be noted, blacklisted Anthropic shortly after Operation Epic Fury began. The Trump administration cut the company off from federal contracts amid broader internal Washington disputes. Anthropic employees and officials described being shocked. The company that built the AI embedded in the military's intelligence analysis chain got cut off by the same military mid-conflict. That is not a detail that should pass without notice. Looking forward, researchers are raising alarms about what they're calling mission creep. If today's AI systems identify targets at scale, tomorrow's systems may begin flagging what they determine to be suspicious behavior, movements, communications patterns, network connections, and recommend preemptive strikes based on probabilistic threat modeling rather than confirmed military activity. Professor Schwartz described this trajectory as terrifying. The decision to use force, to initiate conflict, not just to prosecute it, could migrate further and further from human hands until it sits entirely within a recommendation engine that no individual signed off on, no electorate approved, and no international court has the framework to govern. We just crossed a threshold. Quietly. Without a treaty. Without a vote. Without a global ethical framework in place to manage the consequences. The first war in which artificial intelligence was deeply embedded in the targeting chain at scale happened in Iran. It happened now. And the rules of war, written across centuries of human conflict, codified in the Geneva Conventions, enforced imperfectly, but at least theoretically by international institutions, have absolutely no operational answer for what just occurred. Who is responsible when the AI kills the wrong people? Is it the company that trained the model? The officer who clicked approve? The general who authorized the operation? The president who ordered it? Or is responsibility so diffused across the human-machine system that no individual can be held accountable, which means functionally no one is? That is the most dangerous sentence in the English language right now. And it was written not in a science fiction novel. It was written in the rubble of a primary school in Minab, Iran.